Hi, it's Jason from AutoPot here. I'm just going to give you a little rundown on the new AutoPot XXL module. Consists of quite a large tray, as you can see. It has an optional overflow facility here so you can use this module outdoors. If you're going to use it outdoors, you simply remove the plug, and then indoors you can just put the plug in, but it won't make any difference if you do have it indoors or indoors, because the flood level doesn't come high enough when the aquavalve floods. So outdoors, just remove the plug, and if it rains, then what I would suggest you do, if it rains heavily, obviously have the plug removed outdoors, turn the reservoir off, and then once it's finished raining, turn the reservoir back on once all the water's been consumed in the tray, and then it'll flood it again. There's no point having the tank on and water coming in when it's raining heavily. So outdoors, remove the plug, and if it rains heavily, turn the reservoir off, let it finish raining, let the plant use all the water in the tray, then turn the reservoir back on. Well, I'll give you a little overview of what it consists of. So you've got the aquavalve 5, has a 5mm outlet, a length of pipe, a lid that goes over the cavity where the aquavalve sits, the end plug, or the overflow plug that goes in there for this part. I'll just put it in for the video. If you find it's a little bit difficult to get it in the hole, you can put a little bit of washing up liquid on the end of it, but it's not too bad. And you can see that plug is in now. For outdoor, take it out. And then we have a ring that you use if you're using the 35-litre fabric pot. So I'll set it up. It's pretty simple. Take your 9mm top hat grommet and simply push it in the hole there. So if you come on in, you can see me just pushing it until you just feed it in, and then just twist it in like so. Do a little bit of a better job than I've done. I can pull it through from the other side as well. There we go, that's better. Right, so that's in there. You can see that in there like so. I'll just twist that to make it a bit better. There you go. So once you've got the grommet, the 9mm top hat grommet in there, then literally you take one end of your pipe. If you find it's tricky to push through, either wet it or put a bit of washing up liquid in on the end of it as well. If you find the pipe's a bit soft, dip it in hot and cold water, and that will harden it because of the type of plastic it is, and it'll help push it through. So if I now push that pipe through, I'm just going to lick the end of this pipe. I'll just slide it through, and then I'll pull it through the other side. Give myself probably about 5, 6, 7 inches. Then literally all I do is remove the collar, put the collar on the end of the pipe, put the aquavalve nozzle up to the pipe. Connecting the pipe to the aquavalve, you can always dip this in hot water, and it just makes it so much easier to put it on. It is pretty easy anyway, but it does, when the pipe's really cold, you can always dip it in hot water if you want to, but it's not too bad. And when you feel it grip the collar, then stop. Then literally pull the pipe back through, literally so that the aquavalve's touching the front of the grommet, and then the half moon section here on the aquavalve, if I just spin that around, the half moon section there, then goes onto the T section in the tray there. Literally all I do is pull that through, locate it onto the T section, and then push down on the grey body, not on the black, on the grey body there. And that's it. That's now set up and ready to be connected to the reservoir. Put your lid over the top. I quite often like to leave my lids off in the early stage, just so that, and have them next to the tray, just so that when I'm walking past the lines, I can see that the aquavalve's flooding and draining correctly. And then once I'm happy after several days, then literally put it back on. Right, for the 35-litre fabric pot, which is this one, we have the ring that obviously takes up the excess space. We also have a root control sheet, or root control sock, should I say. So what you would do, and if I talk about filling the pot, with all our other pots, we recommend either use a pH stabilised level of gravel or pea gravel or clay pebbles at the bottom, Because these pots are so big, you can just put your substrate in. You don't need to put pea gravel at the bottom. You don't need to put anything. We don't make an air base for this, so literally just put your substrate in there. I would still recommend that you use an open substrate, and when I say open substrate, I mean a percentage of perlite or a percentage of pebbles in with the cocoa, in with the soil, so it's nice and fluffy. I'm a big believer of air retention in substrates. I'm a big believer of when you have a substrate in your hand and flake it apart, it breaks away nicely. And by adding perlite or gravel or pebbles to the mix, then it'll just have a much more open substrate and better for the roots of the plant. If you're going to use grow stones as a blend, please pH stabilize the grow stones and clay pebbles. The reason being, grow stones are very alkali, pebbles are very alkali. Most of the manufacturers will say that they are pH stabilized. In tests that I've done and trials where I've taken pebbles and I've soaked them in distilled water, the pH always rises. So what I would recommend is that if you are going to use grow stones as a blend to open the substrate up, or clay pebbles, that you stabilize them first. And I would probably soak them in pH of around 5.0 to 5.5. Soak them for 48 hours ideally. And what you can also do is add a quarter strength feed of fertilizer in with the soak. And then the pebbles or the grow stones will take some of that feed and it'll be within the grow stone ready. So after 48 hours, just tip off the water, but don't wash them. It's not necessary because then you wash them with more alkali water. So just tip off the water and that will have stabilized them. So like I said, there is no need for pebbles at the bottom. There is no need for grow stones or gravel at the bottom. You can just put your blend of nice open substrate in this 35 litre fabric pot. You have a root control, so I'll just take that. So you have a root control sock for the base. So what I would probably do is put this on first when you're doing your pot, then throw your substrate in, then pick your pot up and then drop it into the one pot XXL. I'd probably water through first, or you can water through in the tray if you want to. It's really entirely up to you. What you want to do is make sure there's nothing stuck, such as perlite, on the base of the pot, so it can potentially get caught around the aqua valve. It's like having sand in the engine of your car. So once you've set it up nice and clean, it will stay nice and clean. You can water through, so you can either water through outside the tray and let it drain, then pick up the pot with the handles and then drop it in the root control sock and off you go. And I would probably recommend you do that. And then I'm just going to demonstrate it without the sock so I don't have to keep picking it up all the time. When you've watered the plant through once, it's really not necessary to water, and you don't want to put a small plant in there, you want to put a nicely established plant in there. What I would recommend is that you don't need to water through again from the top. If you want to create a little bit of microenvironment around help for the plant, take a watering can with a rose on the end of it and lightly sprinkle the surface of the soil, only for probably 30 seconds. Just give it a water through, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and that will just lightly dampen the surface. And what that will do, particularly with smaller plants, that will help the plant and the microenvironment and the humidity rise up into the canopy and will help maintain a better environment for the plant when it's younger. So water through once. If you need to lightly dampen it around, just dampen down the surface, then do so. And then after maybe 7 to 10 days, you can turn your system on. If you feel a little bit apprehensive, let's say 10 to 14 days, and the plant's feeling a little bit used, because they get a lot of evaporation from fabric pots, so they dry out much quicker than plastic pots. So what I would do, would recommend is that you can pulse the system. So you could turn it on for 20 minutes, turn it off for 3 or 4 days, and do that for maybe a week or two. But in the early stage of the plant's life, once you've watered through, you don't need to water through again, apart from if you need to lightly dampen the surface of the soil. So that's the 35 litre fabric pot. 50 litre, you just remove this and then you just put in your 50 litre fabric pot and do exactly what I've just said. Is put a nice established plant in there, water through outside the tray, put your root control sock on the bottom of the pot, and then drop that in the tray nice and clean so you haven't got any perlite stuck to the bottom of it. And then, like I said, you've got plenty of moisture in that 50 litres of substrate that you've already watered through, so there's not necessary to turn on your system straight away. Let the roots in the plant or in the fabric pot work hard for the moisture. If you feel a little bit apprehensive, look at the largest plant in the garden, feel the weight of that. If there's still plenty of weight in it, don't turn the system on. Or if you're a little bit apprehensive, turn the tank on, leave it on for 20 minutes, half an hour. The tray will flood and drain, and then leave it off for 2 or 3 days. Just work it in the early part of the plant's life, and then after probably 10 to 14 days, then turn the system on permanently. And really that's it. I mean, they are very forgiving because of the size of the pot. You don't need gravel at the bottom, you don't need pea gravel, you don't need clay pebbles, you don't need grow stones at the bottom. All you need really is a good, nice, open substrate that will help the roots and the aeration of the roots to develop. And really, that is it. I can't think of anything else that you need to know, but if you've got any questions, just fire away, and this will be posted up on all the social media platforms. Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye.